He became emperor at 14 years old. 14, not through great battle, not through the slow climb of politics, but because his grandmother told the right soldiers the right lie at the right moment. And just like that, a teenage Syrian priest inherited the throne of the most powerful empire the world had ever known. His name was Elagabalus, and Rome would never forgive him for what he did next. He dismantled Roman religion. He installed a foreign sun god above Jupiter himself. He threw banquets so excessive that historians still argue over what was real and what was rumor. But none of it, not the scandals, not the religious chaos, not the mockery of the Senate, none of it would shock Rome as deeply as the day he walked into the sacred house of the Vestal Virgins and decided he wanted one of them as his wife. If stories that history tries to bury are what you came here for, please subscribe to this channel. We go deep every week. And what you're about to discover about this emperor and the sacred woman he refused to release says something dark and true about power. Rome in 218 AD did not know what was coming. The emperor Macrinus had just been executed, overthrown by the very soldiers who'd put him there. And the man who replaced him hadn't yet arrived in the city. He was still traveling from the east, from the Syrian city of Maesa, where his family had served for generations as hereditary high priests of the sun god Elagabalus. His real name was Sextus Varius Avitus Bassianus, but the world would know him by the name of the god he served. He was 14 years old. His grandmother, Julia Maesa, had engineered everything. She was the real architect of this moment, a woman of iron calculation who spread the rumor that her grandson was the secret son of the popular emperor Caracalla. The legions believed it, or chose to. Either way, the boy was proclaimed emperor, and Julia Maesa had what she wanted, her bloodline back on the throne. What she hadn't fully counted on was the boy himself. Because Elagabalus didn't arrive in Rome as a grateful puppet. He arrived as a priest-king, draped in jeweled Eastern robes that no Roman emperor had ever worn in public, his face painted, performing elaborate Syrian rituals in the streets. The Senate watched with barely concealed horror. This was not how emperors were supposed to look. This was not how they were supposed to act. And Elagabalus did not care. He built a lavish temple on the Palatine Hill, Rome's most sacred ground, and installed a conical black stone at its center. This stone was the physical embodiment of Elagabalus, and Elagabalus didn't merely suggest that Romans venerate it. He declared that his sun god would absorb all other Roman gods, Jupiter included. Senators were compelled to attend Syrian rituals they did not understand and had not chosen. Within months, the most powerful city in the world was being religiously restructured by a teenager who believed, genuinely believed, that he was the earthly vessel of a god. But then he saw her. Her name was Julia Aquilia Severa, by all accounts, a woman of striking beauty, the kind that did not go unnoticed in Rome. She was a Vestal Virgin. And to understand what that actually meant, you need to picture her as she was when the emperor first saw her. A woman in her mid-20s who had been bound since childhood to a single vow. She would never know a man. Not for a year, not for a decade. 30 years of her life given over to that promise, to remain untouched, unmarried, a living vessel of purity in service to Rome's most ancient goddess. That vow wasn't just religious. Roman belief held that as long as the Vestals kept their purity, Rome itself was safe. The Vestals weren't simply priestesses, they were the guarantee. Breaking that vow carried one sentence: not exile, not prison, burial alive. A small underground chamber, a lamp, a little bread, water and oil. And then the entrance sealed above you. That was the ancient sentence for a Vestal who fell from grace. It had been carried out within living memory. Aquilia Severa knew all of this. She had given her life to this sacred order. And then the emperor sent for her. In 220 AD, Elagabalus divorced his first wife, Julia Paula, dismissing her on the grounds of some supposed physical defect, and announced he would marry Aquilia Severa. Rome erupted. The historian Cassius Dio, who witnessed this era firsthand, wrote that Elagabalus had acted most flagrantly, that he had most impiously defiled a woman consecrated to Vesta. Elagabalus had a different view entirely. He was the high priest of Elagabal. She was the high priestess of Vesta. Their union, he declared publicly, was a sacred marriage, a divine pairing that would produce godlike children for Rome. He wasn't desecrating her vows, he was elevating them. In his mind, this was theology, not transgression. Whether Aquilia Severa saw it that way is one of the most haunting questions this story leaves unanswered. Some ancient sources say she was forced. Others go further, alleging she was violated before the marriage was even formalized. Her own voice does not survive. We have only the accounts of men who already hated the emperor who took her. The marriage lasted less than a year. Pressure from Julia Maesa, the ever-watchful grandmother, forced Elagabalus to relent. He divorced Aquilia and married Annia Faustina, a descendant of Marcus Aurelius, a far more palatable choice for a Senate already grinding its teeth. But he couldn't stay away. Within months, Elagabalus had divorced Annia Faustina and returned to Aquilia Severa. His justification was almost casual in its arrogance. The original divorce, he declared, had never been valid. So the marriage had never truly ended. She was still his wife. She had always been his wife. Elagabalus was assassinated on the 13th of March, 222 AD. He was 18 years old. The Praetorian Guard, who had grown tired of defending an emperor the Senate despised and the people mocked, dragged him and his mother through the palace. Their bodies were thrown into the Tiber. His name was subjected to damnatio memoriae, the Roman practice of erasing a disgraced emperor from official record. His face was chiseled from statues. His inscriptions were defaced. Aquilia Severa simply disappears from the historical record after 222. No trial, no execution, which, given her broken vows, is extraordinary. No record of what became of her. She slips into silence, the way so many women in ancient history do, present at the center of enormous events, then gone. What Elagabalus called a sacred marriage, Rome called a desecration. What he called theology, they called madness. And what he believed would produce divine children produced nothing. No heirs, no legacy, no mercy from the soldiers who killed him. He died believing he was a god. Rome made sure he was buried like a problem. The sacred fire of Vesta kept burning. The Vestals kept their watch. And somewhere in Rome, Aquilia Severa lived out the rest of her days in a silence that history never broke. Some stories don't end with answers. They end with the questions no one dared ask out loud. If this story stayed with you, the like button is right there. It genuinely helps us keep making these. And if you want to keep going deeper into the corners of history that textbooks skip over, subscribe. Every week we find the stories that didn't make it into the official version. A new story is coming, and it's worth waiting for.